you.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's Winter City Council meeting for Monday, July 1st. At this time, we'll have roll call, please.
Councilman Clay?
Here.
Councilman Hughes?
Aye.
Councilman Clunt?
Here.
Councilman Miners?
Here.
Councilman Schuyler?
Present.
And Councilman Shaheen?
Here.
Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, council, having had an opportunity to review your packet for tonight, are there any conflicts of interest to declare? Hearing none, we'll move on to item D, the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to present, or to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Schuyler and a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Hughes. Any discussion?
Mayor and Council, the resignation is of Chase Frank in the Corrections Department.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item E, do we have a motion on the tonight's agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make that motion.
Motion by Miners, is there a second?
One second.
By Shaheen. Any discussion on the agenda?
Was that a motion to approve?
Yes.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Moving on to item number F, public input. As with all city council meetings, there's a 10-minute window for public input. I see nobody from the public here tonight, so we'll go on to new hires. Chandra, if you would enlighten us, please.
I have no new hires reported in my emails.
Very good. And our July propane bid award goes to,
We had two bidders for July of 2024, Schaefer Oil at $1.39 and CHS at $1.29. The bid was awarded to CHS at $1.29.
for July. Thank you very much. At this time, we'd ask Public Safety Commissioner Mitch Miller to deliver his report, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilmen and women. I presented to you the Winter Police Department's activity report for the month. You may look through that at your convenience. Also, I enclosed the activity report for the dispatch center with the calls. The one thing that I do want to note with that on the bottom, it says one full-time employee completed EMD certification, and what that is emergency medical dispatcher. So in case you were wondering what that was, I thought I would clarify for that. NCIC, that is the licensure, the federal government that we have to abide by to properly run plates, run stolen wants, etc. So both departments had a fairly busy month. Two further things that I need to discuss with you, council and Mr. Mayor, is we are going to start to be conducting monthly sirens on the sirens that are in this community. There are 6 of them, and we're getting to the latter part of our plan on doing so, but we are going to be setting them off every month consistently on the same date, probably like a Wednesday at like 10 o'clock. Once we get that to be determined, we are gonna put it on ask if we can put it on the city Facebook, and we're gonna let the radio know that we are doing that. But that's the one thing that I wanted to talk to you about. And the second thing is been doing some work on you as a council have agreed to allow the chamber to host a gathering in July, barbecue pit row thing. I'm just tightening up, I guess, the ordinance which is presented, which I have to abide by. I met with the responsible parties, and we are going to follow what the ordinances that you guys have written with the people that are responsible for this. Not saying it wasn't done in the past, but it's going to be very much applied this time. So just so you know that, I am going to be working hard to make sure that we are following the rules that you guys have established for us. So, any questions?
Was there anything that jumped out on that ordinance to what may not have been being enforced or followed?
Certainly. With a lot of ordinances, there are a lot of grays, okay? Not everything is black and white, okay? And the one thing that I had to struggle with is what's called in your ordinance, you have a defined perimeter, okay? So Mr. Clay, you define a perimeter, and me, Mr. Miller, I'll define a perimeter. We can have different things. So we came to an agreement with the party that's sponsoring this, and we're going to have a perimeter that is established, and we think it's fair, and we think it's gonna protect everybody, so. Okay? Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Miller. With that, we'd call on Troy Kruger, the Public Works Director. Tell us what he's been up to.
Good evening. I'll start with water and sewer. Working on getting Workington Street project buttoned up, getting the yards back to seated. We had a service line leak. Locates, Vector truck, we had that in for repairs, blew some gaskets out on the main pump, jetted sewers on a couple of different locations, storm sewers after the heavy rains. Mowing out at the wells and lift stations. We finally got in some 2-inch meters that we've been waiting on. We had about a dozen of them on order, so we could finish up this upgrade of all the meters. And then I'd just like to remind the public that with all the rain that we've been receiving this year so far, if you have the ability to run your sump pump water outside, please do so. We've ran over 1 million gallons of water just in the month of June. So, one final on water and sewer. I haven't included. Jake's going to touch further on this, but on the back of this sheet I attached. So we'll close out on the highway project tonight's. That's on the agenda. I just kind of want to let everybody know where water and sewer are sitting as we close out this project. So the third page that I handed you out tonight is where water and sewer are sitting as of. I got this information from Shander last week, but it's pretty accurate with what Jake's going to present tonight. Streets and sanitation, sweeping, potholes, bladed the roads after the rains that we've had, dump road out by the lagoons, storm drains. Crew went around, cleaned up storm drains, all the debris off the storm drains. We put in some more handicap parking signs out at the softball field. Barricades for the hot summer nights, clean streets with the sweeper, also debris off the streets, all the stuff that runs off the alleyways onto our streets. We have to move all that material back into the alleyways after we get heavy rains. Hauled grass for the parks and cemetery shop work, and been pretty busy out at the dump and the transfer station. Parks and cemetery, code enforcement lots, ball game prep. This will be our first week in about a month. We do not have a ball game this week. So for about the last month, every night we've had at least one ball game, sometimes 2 or 3 ball games. Cleaned up after the heavy rains, spraying weeds, equipment maintenance. Just got a note on my computer last week. We're adding 2 tournaments to our schedule that we did not expect to have. One is a 14U regional tournament, and that's July 15th and 16th, and the other one is a Junior Legion tournament at the end of July, the 29th and the 30th. So 2 more tournaments to Leahy Bowl for the year. Light department, the They did some training up in Sioux Falls, sent those guys out. We went out and knocked on doors, just kind of make the public aware of what we're doing over there. It's kind of in that East 9th and Roosevelt area. Chandra's putting a map on our city website page so that we're trying to get the information out to the public. I had DGR run up there, stake out our right-of-ways and property lines and all that, so we can determine where to put our equipment. And then we went around and knocked on doors, so just to kind of keep the communication going with the public, so nobody's surprised at what we're doing there. Secondary wire on Polk Street. We've had a couple calls for low wires this year, so we've lifted a couple of different places this last month. Shop work on trucks on the rain days, set new pad mount on 6th Street. 4 days boring up there in that East 9th, Roosevelt area. And then we've had a number of residents that have called in, security lights and street lights that aren't working. Electrical guys working on the tickets for command center, working on his firmware updates, and then we're switching we have 2 speed signs that we have to put back up. One's on 44 coming in to town, and the other one's coming in from the west on 18. Those are the ones that tell you your speed as you're coming into town, and we're switching those over to solar so that we didn't run electricity to those this time, so those will be solar powered. The other thing I included, I handed out, and it's just for your reading. I talked about this in committee earlier in the year, and WAPA has a rate increase that they proposed due to COVID and the rising cost of them to keep up their infrastructure. So there's a handout on there, and we'll see a rate increase about 7.4% early in the year of 2025, and then another 6.4% early in the year of 2026. And there's 4 pages of reading there. It's super entertaining. So, any questions?
State. In my opinion, and I stopped down and talked to the guys today at the Parks Department. The what's it called? The rookie baseball tournament's held here. I drove by there yesterday. Diamond looked great. The place was packed. The facility looks awesome. They did a great job. I told them that, and in my opinion, I want to share that. I've noticed some photos on Facebook of the tournament. It just looked great. They did a great job.
Thank you. Anything else? Thanks.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Troy. At this time, we'd ask the city engineer, Jacob Morris, to bring us up to speed on his items that are going on.
Good evening, council and mayor. Yeah, there's a few items on the agenda later on, so I want to take an opportunity to kind of touch on those items now to bring some of the new counselors up to speed, and then hopefully answer some questions on the front end. The first of which is the Community Access Grant. That's the DOT grant for Monroe Street that we have discussed in the past here and are proposing to move forward with. I believe there's some information in your packets there, kind of an exhibit that shows the project area and scope, as well as an accompanying cost estimate. Specifics of that grant, we would submit it in by July 15th. The award would be in November. That would likely set us up for a 2026 construction project. One important thing that I want to stress is that by moving forward with this grant, you're not moving forward with or committing to the project as a whole that it's shown in the numbers that we provided there. So that's a pretty daunting amount of money. All you're committing is that in the event the funds are awarded in the amount of $600,000, which is the max, that you will have at least a 20% match on that. So it covers up to 80% of construction costs. So that would amount to, the tune of a $750,000, $800,000 project. So that's all that's being committed to with the submission and/or application of this grant. Moving along here to the Shared Use Path Grant, that's also a DOT program. This one's a little less committal with this July 15th application. This is what they call a letter of intent. So what that does is it lets the program directors know that the city of Winter is interested in this program, these funds. They've got a project isolated, if you will. For the sake of this one, this is 7th Street from South County to Main Street, and then a couple blocks north on Main to tie into some existing sidewalk. That's a similar matching component, 81.95%. That one does cover all project expenses, not just construction, engineering, administration, et cetera. They recently got rid of their grant maximum on that, but they still give preference to, it's more likely than not that they'd still cap that one at 600,000 as well. So the idea with this one is that we would submit the letter of intent in July. The DOT program facilitators will meet with the city and us on site. We'll talk about the scope of the project. They'll provide some input as far as what they like or maybe don't like about the project, and then we would refine a application accordingly, maybe rescope the project for an October 1st actual funding application there. And that would set up for also a 2026 or even 2027 construction. So with both of these grant applications, if all comes together well and we get the funding this fall, that would allow for an entire 2025 budget season, if you will, to figure out where that matching components come from, what the appropriate scope of the project is, and or other funding avenues.
So how long do we have if we get the grant approved to do the project?
3 years, I believe. Yep.
To complete it or to start it?
That would be more so to start it, to bid let the project and have a construction contract in place. Yep. So certainly allows you some time to get things in order and go about it the right way, but yeah, you don't have to necessarily jump into it right away.
Any wiggle room on this $250,000 here?
Sure, yeah. And I'd tell you that, all those stuffs that's budgetary numbers. I mean, for the sake of applications and whatnot, we're working in the world of fluff, for lack of a better word, always rounding up and et cetera. So, especially on the case of the Monroe Street one, all that stuff gets dialed in as we scope that project a little bit better. But the last item there, and I'll be around too for any questions during the actual agenda items, but the last item is the highway utility project closeout. We've been working back and forth with the contractor and came to an agreement, if you will, on the as-built quantities and what's payable items, if you will. So there's 3 items there. First of which is a change order, and that's what we call a balancing change order. That's more or less matching our contract quantities with the as-built quantities. So it doesn't necessarily represent a change in the project, but rather that in the field, X amount of feet of water were installed instead of the estimated quantity. So that kind of cleans it up on the contractual side. And then with that is the final pay request, which would be the final payment to Reedy Construction for the utility work as part of that project. I would ask that the motion for that would be contingent upon receipt of all final documents in proper form, and all that's for is making sure that we get all the lien waivers and et cetera signed and returned to the city prior to that final check being cut, because once that payment's made, then it's a little more difficult to get all that stuff we need. And then that last item there is just a standard certificate of substantial completion. That's standard for projects of this nature. The DOT actually needs a copy of that as well, so they can close out the project on their side of things, because they have the A contract for the project and the city has the B contract, so they'll close theirs out more or less simultaneously here. Any questions?
Yes. We're quite a way down, but the Seventh Street project, that surface, is that 6 feet wide concrete? Is that what your specs were saying?
What we're proposing there it'd actually be closer to be 9 feet total in concrete, 6 of
But-
which,
So is that concrete or that isn't dirt? Is it up against? The
it would be
curb?
concrete, up against the curb. The reason we do it,
Boulevard, I guess.
yeah, the reason that we propose it that way, and it's similar to what you see on, like the new highway stuff, is that, especially when you're going up against existing curb, it's impractical to expect to be able to construct brand-new sidewalk that meets ADA compliance adjacent to curb that might not be perfect because it's 20 years old or however old it might be. So what that transition area does is it allows you to have ADA compliant sidewalk and take some of the imperfections out in that 3-foot transition area. So the intent there would be 9 foot total concrete, 6 of which would be a ADA compliant walking path. So what we found is works well in these new sidewalk, existing street scenarios.
Okay.
So is this new street and sidewalk from South County to Maine?
Just sidewalk. We would
Just sidewalk?
correct. We would only be
No street?
only replacing curb as needed to facilitate
Okay, that's
access.
sidewalk,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
And this sidewalk would not be assessed against the adjacent landowners for them to pay? Would not?
No, that's not my understanding at this point. It would, majority of which would be paid for via grant dollars is the idea is that all comes together.
Any other questions for Mr. Morris?
Thank you.
You're gonna stay till we get to the motion stuff to answer our questions then. Okay, thank you. At this time, we'd ask the Finance Officer, Chandra Phillips.
As of July 1st, there were several laws at the state that changed after legislative session, one of which has to do with special event liquor licenses. So the City of Winter's rule in ordinance is ultimately that we will follow state statute and that we did set what that fee would be for a special event for an on-sale liquor license. What we have in our policies or our ordinances is $100 for a special event if you have an on-sale liquor license. What that means is that you are able to stay open in your everyday brick and mortar, plus you can have a special event somewhere else. What changed in the law is the law did say, up until today, that if it was on a private facility owned, you had to have a public hearing. If it was publicly owned, you did not have to have a public hearing. So if someone wanted to have a special event in this building, public dollars own it, there was no public hearing required. But St. Mary's Hall, as we know, gets used quite a bit for weddings. Anytime they wanted to have a special event over there, there was a public hearing involved. So ultimately, it's still 30 days notification to the finance officer, but then as long as they have an active on-sale license, there's no public hearing required, and they can actually go over there. We don't have to publish anything in the paper, so it saves us a little bit of money too. And we're still just following state statute on that. So it doesn't matter if it's private or public owned, you can go forward without a public hearing. Otherwise, been working on budget numbers and plugging them in. At this point in time, I have all budgets plugged in except for I have not received electric department, code enforcement, and fire department. Once I get those plugged in, I will get those all sent out to you so that you have a total overview of the city as to where we're sitting right now. We do have 3 bid openings on the 15th. So that will be at 1 o'clock in the finance office committee room. And then it will be presented on the 15th to you guys from there. The first one is for the surplus 300-gallon dumpsters. Just for council's information, because the SWMP grant helped pay for those, we had to get their permission to ultimately surplus them and what we could do with that money. They agreed to, yep, absolutely, if you get that money back after it's been surplused, you can turn around and buy more dumpsters. That's ultimately what the grant was for anyways. So they agreed with the Public Works Director's thought process on that, and so they did approve us to go ahead and do that. And then for the recycle trailers, I believe we asked for 4 recycle trailers with the specs set out by the Public Works Director, and those will be opened on the 15th. And the final one is for a 5-year, potential 5-year garbage contract. It pretty much matches what we're currently doing with our current garbage contract, but ultimately it gives them 5 years to give us a price so that we can start knowing on budgetary numbers on if that's the way the city council wants to continue. On the 15th, you do not have to accept bids. You can table it. You have up to 30 days once a bid has been submitted to make a decision. So if it's from 1 o'clock to 6:30 p.m. isn't enough time to make a decision, you have the ability to wait till the next meeting, or you can award it that night. It just depends on what council wants to do, but you'll have several options from there. So public bid openings are public. So anyone from the public can come in and watch those be opened. Council can come in. The only thing I say is if council wants to come in, once there's 3, I'll start turning people away at the door because we cannot have a quorum. So 3 is the max on what we can have for council. It's kind of just been a first come, first serve if anyone wants to be there, but I do know that that last one is kind of important to folks, so you're welcome to attend. The only other thing I have is accounts payable today. Let me know that there were 3 items missed in the claims list. It's our monthly, our first of the month, monthly payments. One is to Dave Howard for his airport contract in the amount of $603.22. One is to an employee, Donald Mays, for reimbursement, and the other one is to the Winter Fire Department for $300, and that's our monthly payment to them for taking care of our trucks. So when the claims come up, if you guys would also approve those 3 payments, and also, and Jake mentioned this a little bit ago, add in that pay request for, I believe it's $61,000, but again, pending that all the information is received. So that way, when we get that information, we can write that check out to them and get it sent off, so we can get that closed out, and then start making recommendations from the Public Works Director where you would like to see, how you would like to see the outlays closed out. Because once that is all finalized, we can close out the outlays, move that back into cash into each one of those departments. So, questions?
Any questions for Chandra? Very well. Thank you, Chandra. Okay, we have no bid openings tonight. We have no public hearings, no Board of Adjustments, no old business. All caught up. Under new business, item number 1. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that Resolution 2024-13, a resolution to adopt the part-time holiday premium pay policy and to amend the city electrician job description.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Hughes. Discussion, please.
Mr. Mayor, to explain what the part-time holiday premium pay policy is, ultimately it's something that the City of Winter has been following for many years. However, we did not have it in a written policy. It's one of those, we're still finding payroll policies that aren't written down. We want to get them in writing for, in the case of, we have new council, new finance office staff, whatever, that it's there and then they know how to move forward. The second one, all of our job descriptions are policies, and they are approved by council. And ultimately, after a workshop held with the electric committee, they decided to make just a couple minor changes. So those are the policies.
Any other discussion, please? We'll call this question. Councilman Clay.
Yes.
Miners.
Yes.
Clunt.
Yes.
Hughes.
Aye.
Schuyler.
Aye.
And Shaheen.
Yes.
This resolution 2024-13 to adopt the part-time holiday premium pay policy and to amend the city electrician job description passes. Thank you very much. Item number 2, do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to table new business item number 2.
Is there a second to that?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to second.
Wait.
Second by Miners. to table item number 2.
That's the one. Okay, sorry, I was
Okay.
reading incorrectly.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? This motion carries to table this resolution. Item number 3, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 1079, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget to allow for a $1,000 donation to the nonprofit Selling Carnival Tickets.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Is there any discussion on this? Any questions you might have? Hearing none, I'll call the question. And this would be a roll call vote, please. No, it doesn't need to be, I'm sorry, okay. All in favor of ordinance 1079, amending the 2024 budget to allow for a $1,000 donation to a nonprofit selling carnival tickets, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item number 4. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-15, a resolution to approve the amended contract with Mason Droshik as city attorney.
I'll second.
That motion made by Schuyler and seconded by Hughes. It's up for discussion.
Mr. Mayor and Council, would you mind amending your motion to read Resolution 2024-14, since we
Correct.
did skip over one?
Yes, I make that.
Very good. And Councilman Hughes, you're willing to amend that as well?
Yep.
Okay, very good. So it's the number thing, 2014. Any other discussion?
So the change in the contract's just the two highlighted.
Mason, do you want-
Okay, we'll have a roll call vote. Councilman Clunt,
Yes.
Hughes,
Aye.
Schuyler,
Aye.
Shaheen,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
and Miners.
Yes.
Resolution 2024-14, a resolution to approve the amended contract with Mason Jurassic as city attorney passes. Item number 5, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the Transportation Alternatives Program Grant Letter of Intent, 7th Street Shared Use Path Project, and have the mayor sign.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Moved by Shaheen, second by Clunt, to approve the Transportation Alternatives Program Grant Letter of Intent for the 7th Street Shared Use Path Project and have the mayor sign. Any discussion, please? You did a nice job there, Mr. Engineer, evidently. Okay, all in favor, or I'm sorry, we'll do a roll call
It was
vote.
quite, I mean, if you read your packet, it was very thorough. And I'm sure everybody read their packet, so it was well written. Maybe you Troy or Jake, whoever, but didn't leave a lot of questions to be asked on it.
Yep, that's a nice job, yep. Councilman Schuyler,
Aye.
Shaheen,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
Clunt,
Yes.
and Hughes.
Aye.
Resolution 2024-15, a resolution approving the application for the Community Access Grant and have the mayor sign. Carries 6-0.
You slipped the line.
Oh, my goodness sakes, okay. Strike everything I just read because it's on a different page. That motion that was just approved was the Transportation Alternatives Program Grant Letter of Intent for the 7th Street Shared Use Path Project and have the mayor sign. That one passes unanimously. Thank you very much for your votes. Item number 6. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the application for the Community Access Grant Monroe Street Improvements Project and have the mayor sign.
And did you say dash 15224, 2024 dash 15?
You're
Ah,
right.
girl.
Exactly.
Yeah, Matt, Chandra's a good teacher. Is there a second to that motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, Councilman Clay. Any discussion, please? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. And I'm gonna start in the same order I did because it's on my list. Skylar,
Aye.
Shaheen,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
Clunt,
Yes.
and Hughes.
Aye.
Good, that way I don't have to change anything. Thank you very much. That motion carries. Resolution 2024-15, approving the application for the Community Access Grant, Monroe Street Improvements Project, and have the mayor sign. Item number 7, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-16, a resolution creating the authority to enter into a municipal lease with NCL for a Schwartz sweeper in the total Sourcewell Titan machinery contract price of $349,747.50 and an annual payment of $86,032.30 for 5 years with 1 year deferred payment, and have the mayor and finance officer and council president sign.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Shaheen. Now we can have discussion. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Mr. Mayor and council, it's not common that you see that they're requiring you to approve to have the mayor, finance officer, and council president, but this company does require that. That in the motion, it states that the council president, being attested by the finance officer, is authorizing that the mayor can sign all the documents. If you noticed, all the documents were about 25 pages long, plus there's several more that I have to add into them, so they're really making sure that you want to go into a lease with them.
Do we need the vice president sign allowing the
Yeah.
president to sign?
You know, I didn't read that in there, but if you got it and I didn't see it.
The good thing is we get to use the darn thing for a whole year without paying a penny.
Yep.
And it's in our possession right now, so I would assume that as soon as we sign these things, get that thing out of the shed and get it working. Is that fair
Once
to
they
assume?
approve that, once they've received it, actually, once they receive a check, not a check, they have to get the $500 check from us.
Okay,
Because there is a $500 fee for all this paperwork. And
so tomorrow Troy should not start sweeping streets yet.
maybe not.
Got till Wednesday, Troy. Okay, all right. Okay, very good. Thank you for that. Item number 8.
Roll call.
Yeah, you need a roll call.
Oh, okay, very good, thank you. Okay, roll call vote, because it hasn't been approved yet. I was just glad to get the motions. Okay, Shaheen,
Yes.
that's a yes.
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
Clunt,
Yes.
Hughes,
Aye.
and Skylar.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We did, in fact, need a new street sweeper to take care of what we have here. Item number 8, Mr. Morris, I know you said to include something about contingent. You're gonna have to help us again unless somebody wrote down everything he said that you wanted included
It'll be
in
on the
this,
payment. not
in
on the
this
change
motion.
order.
What's that?
It'll be on the payment, not the change order.
Not the change order. Okay, very good. Okay, strike what I said then. Item number 8, do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve change order number 6 to Reedy Construction for a total decrease of the amount of $94,470.19 for highway relocation project PCNX05H and have the mayor sign.
This is a good change order. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Hughes.
Way to jump on that.
I just know you enjoy it.
Any discussion? She kind of reminds me of Val Sherman.
That's a good.
Take it.
I did emphasize the decrease when I read it.
Yep. Okay, hearing no discussion, Councilman Clay,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
Clunt,
Yes.
Hughes,
Aye.
Skylar,
Aye.
and Shaheen.
Yes.
All ayes, motion carries. Item number 9, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the final pay request number 14 to Reedy Construction in the amount of $61,896 for the highway utility relocation project PCN X05H and have the mayor sign.
Is there a second?
Is this the one that needs?
This is the one you want him to make.
Contingent.
Contingent on all final documents being received.
Is that the wording, what
Yep.
she just said? Say that loud enough to ask Clunt if he'll accept that.
Contingent on all final documents being received.
Yes.
Okay, and is there a second to that?
I'll second that one.
Okay, Skylar?
I saved 94, you spend 61.
Still 30 with that.
Any other discussion, Mr. Miners?
No.
Anybody else? At least we didn't spend 161.
Yeah, that's
All
true.
right, very good. Okay, Mr. Miners, how do you vote on that?
Yes.
Mr. Clunt?
Yes.
Ms. Hughes?
Aye.
Skylar?
Aye.
Shaheen?
Yep.
And Clay?
Yes.
All ayes, that motion carries. We will pay the final pay request number 14 to Reedy Construction in the amount of $61,896 for the highway utility relocation project. Have the mayor sign it contingent on
All documents being received.
all documents being received. Okay, very good. Item number 10. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the certificate of substantial completion for the highway utility relocation project PCNX05H and have the mayor sign.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Shaheen. Motion moved and seconded for a certificate of substantial completion for the highway utility relocation project PCNX 05H and have the mayor sign. Is there any discussion, please? Hearing none, Councilman Clunt,
Yes.
Hughes,
Aye.
Skylar,
Aye.
Shaheen,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
and Miners.
Yes.
Item number 11. Is there a motion on the claims?
I'll make a motion to pay the claims with the additions of the stuff Shandor said earlier.
Very good. Way to cover that. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Hughes. All in, oh, is there any discussion on that?
I'll just, you almost forgot. I'll just repeat what those numbers were for the public as well. The first is to Dave Howard, for monthly contract price of $603.22. The second is to Donald Mays for, employee reimbursement of $343.36. The third is to Winter Fire Department for monthly contract of $300. And the fourth is for the pay request number 14 to Reedy Construction in the amount of $61,896.
Now, do we have any discussion? Almost forgot that one. All in favor of paying the claims, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. That motion Passes. We don't need an executive session tonight, I am told. Do we have a motion on adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Clint? Is there a second on that adjournment?
I'll second that.
Skylar? All in favor? Stand up and leave the room, please. Thank you very much.
All right.
Justin, before you leave, can I get your signature?
Absolutely.
You just sign, there's three different signatures for that one.
Hey, Jeremy.